Hello everybody, Aaron here. This is my second video. This video is a response to 3 different videos, and I'm not certain yet who I'm going to attach it primarily to. Fakesagan and Christopher 7 both have videos where they were going back and forth about revolution, and Amazing Atheist chimed in a response to Fakesagan. What I take issue with is not so much what has been said, because I actually think the 3 of them are all correct for the most part in what they say, and I'm not necessarily certain that they see that they're all correct. What I take issue with is not so much with what has been said, but what has been left out of the conversation, what is not being said. So we'll start with a story. In 1935, the Nazi regime passed the Nuremberg racial purity laws. Basically, these laws, they laid out exactly what it took to be defined as a full-blooded German, a full-blooded Jew, or a half-breed. They legalized extramarital sex between Jews and Germans, and they illegalized any more marriages between Jews and Germans. So up until that time, of course, it was legal for Jews and Germans to marry, but from then on it was going to be illegal. Fast forward, we can fast forward to 1945. Holocaust is in full swing, and Goebbels decides that he's going to, for Hitler's birthday, he's going to deliver Hitler a Jewish-free Berlin. So the SS promptly goes out. They round up about 7,000 of the remaining Jews in Berlin, and a good number of them, about 2,000 men, Jewish men end up being held temporarily in this Jewish community center on this street called Rosenstrasse. And these men were primarily Jewish husbands of German wives. So what happens is the wives start showing up. They show up at this Jewish center, and a couple at a time, and by the third, and they're demanding to see their husbands. And of course, the SS is not going to let them see their husbands. They're fixing to be transported to death camps. So, but the crowd, so there's a few women at first, and then the crowd builds. By the third day, they've got 600 women outside, demanding that the SS release their husbands to them. And of course, the SS has no intention of doing such a thing. Eventually, what happens is I've heard there was estimates about the crowd grows to about 6,000 people. They shut down traffic. They pretty much shut down a section of the city. The SS can't transport these men to the death camps because there's so many people in the streets. So the SS is ordered to fire warning shots at over the group. The group scatters a few times, but it eventually stands its ground. At which point, the SS is told to train its machine guns on them and to shoot. And give them one final warning, then shoot. And the SS tells them, "We're going to shoot you. We're going to kill you if you do not leave." The women demand that they be shot. They demand that the SS kill them. And they call the SS murderers. What happens next is the men, the Jewish husbands, are released. In fact, not only are they released, but the SS actually goes to such lengths as to go and round up a number of men who had already been transported at another time, had already been transported to these death camps, and brought them back to Berlin and gave them back to their families. The reason I tell this story is I believe it illustrates quite clearly what people are able to do, even small groups of people are able to do with a minimum of organization to get their governments to take a certain action, a desired action. So when we discuss revolution, I think the problem right now is that any discussion of revolution inevitably is defined as either being violent revolution or no revolution at all. And my point is that revolutions aren't necessarily violent. The violence can be associated with the revolution, but the revolutions themselves aren't really violent at all. They happen in people's heads. It's all about politics. The thing is, with the Germans, the SS could not mow those women down for a reason, because if they did that in the public square in Berlin, they would have taken their mask off. There is a reason why they did not gas the husbands right there in the Jewish center, right there in the middle of Berlin. There's a reason why they had an entire industry established to ship people off to the countryside, and in this case, all the way out to Poland. Governments historically, the torture chambers are historically always in dungeons. The detention camps are always in the countryside or in somebody else's country. And the hoodlums, the hoodlums of dictators always operate in the dead of night. The reason is that a government cannot take its mask off. It has to offer people something called plausible deniability. See, the thing is, everyone knew in Germany, everyone knew that these people were being rounded up to be shipped off to death camps. Later on, they would pretend like, well, they were completely unaware. That's the plausible deniability that government's power structures give people. The point is, any corrupt power structure that exists has to offer its people plausible deniability of its corruptness. Corrupt governments are notoriously good at that. So, but how do you counter it? How do you fight something like that? Well, you could take up arms against it. But taking up arms against it is suicide. Not simply because of numbers. You've as Amazing Atheist points out, you'll become exactly what you're trying to destroy if you take up arms against it. B, you're outnumbered, you're outpowered as far as violence is concerned. And C, you're going to give them an excuse. You're going to give them an excuse to get rid of you, to attack you, to take their mask off in public. See, that's the thing. If you attack them first, then when they mow you down, they don't have to do it in the dead of the night. They don't have to act secretly. They can do it on national television, and they can come out and justify it. Well, they were maniacs. They're a danger to society. We had to. We had to do what we had to do. So you don't want to give them justification to do that. That's what nonviolent civil disobedient action is all about. It's about forcing the power structure to take its mask off or comply. You don't give them another option. There is no other option. That's why when you do demonstrations, you do them out in public. You do sit-ins, and we look at the civil rights movement, or the women's suffrage movement, or the American labor movement, or the Indian independence movement. And really, any revolution that has ever occurred, really at the end of the day, happens in people's heads. It's a change of opinion. How do you affect that opinion? That's a question that's beyond the scope of this video, but I would say that these three individuals who I'm responding to are all quite capable of affecting other people's opinion. So basically, I had to butcher this video to get it down to a reasonable amount of time. I thank everybody. I didn't hit on nearly everything I wanted to touch on, but I think it's a good introduction. If anybody wants to respond, then I'll expand on it. Thanks again for listening. See you later.